Hey everybody, Professor Steins here, and today we're just going to talk a little bit about W3 CSS and how frameworks can be used to help you along when you're trying to build a website. So in the example here, we have some code that we've been working throughout this semester on, just some lorem ipsum text, some breakouts. I've added some pictures here just to kind of give it a little bit of style. And then down here at the bottom, we have a footer tag with a couple columns in it. So it's kind of similar to how we've been following the labs. It's kind of got a wrapper around the outside, header, nav, main, and footer section, sort of the main HTML5 semantic tags, and then some of the stuff up in the header section as well, including the meta tag to help set the viewport. So this video is going to kind of talk about shortcuts to how you can make it better. So hopefully you have a pretty good understanding of how HTML and CSS work at this point. So a good place on W3 CSS or W3 schools to jump into would be this W3 CSS. And the basic concept here is that a framework is just going to be a bunch of pre-written code that you're going to be able to leverage for what you want to do. So for example, in W3 CSS, there's going to be some pre-built classes that you can apply to your HTML that'll give it some style. And you can kind of click there and see, that's sort of what it looks like. So how do we put it into practice? How do we put it into use? We come down and here's the link tag. Like some of the other things that you may have looked into, like Font Awesome or Google Fonts or something like that, you'll end up seeing a link tag to be how you can bring that stuff in. So I'm going to include it above my own link tag. I have a style sheet linked into my page, but I have not actually written any CSS in it yet. And maybe we won't have to. Maybe we can kind of work through the page a little bit with this and see what we can accomplish. So if we sort of start out and look up at the top, let's go way up here to the top, past all these giant pictures. I got a purpose for them, don't worry. When we go for the first refresh, we're going to see just a little bit of formatting issue going on here where we're going to change the font that's being used and kind of sets some of the default margin and padding and stuff like that. So now that we have this CSS sheet in there, we can sort of look into our HTML and see how we can apply it. In the labs, I used a div that sort of is between the body and all the other tags, sort of as a wrapper. And a good place, we would go in and kind of start setting widths and stuff, but we might be able to just use a class W3 container to help offset that a little bit. So we just added a little bit of space in between there by calling it a container. We can apply coloring through it too, so if we wanted to use purple, we can put W3-purple. And that's basically going to kind of change the page to be a real deep purple, but it also changed the body of the text as well. So if you kind of look at what exactly did it do when we added those classes, you could do the right click inspect and kind of see, ooh, there's some kind of neat stuff in here where it's setting the color and the background color automatically for you. So before you probably would have had to write these CSS rules yourself, but now you can kind of leverage the power of the framework to do some of the heavy lifting for you. Now you can take it a lot deeper, of course. So up here in the header section, say maybe we wanted to change the color of that one a little bit just to kind of give it a different deal. We may have used this kind of as we want to split maybe this part, the call us now information up here and to the right, sort of create a two-column layout up here at the top. So one of the ways we could do that through, and you're going to spend a lot of time jumping through here, but on this CSS responsive page, there's going to be some pretty neat classes that you can use to help build a column-based layout. So there's a lot, don't get overwhelmed by the part that's up here at the top. Basically, these classes are going to help you out. So we're going to try to put in W3 third, 2/3, and third to create sort of a layout that is something similar to this one. So we'll have kind of the header part over here with the contact on the right. So the first div, that's the logo tag. We'll put W3-container, W3-2/3. On this div down here for contact, we'll put the kind of a similar thing. We can put W3-container if we want to, and W3-third. So we'll do a refresh here. And it looks like it kind of worked. Here's our logo, here's our text, here's our right column got built out over there on the right. What we don't see is we don't see that color for the header black. That doesn't seem to work. So either you have to add a W3 container to help fix these floats, because remember in Lab 4 when we did floats, that's what 2/3 is using here. If we do an inspect element and try to figure out what does 2/3 add here, it's adding a float left to kind of make that happen. We take the float off, we can see the black. So we just got to make sure that we clear those floats somehow. And one way you could do that is by adding W3 container on the parent container like this, and then that black will kind of show up. You can still use floats in other ways. So like if this image tag, we wanted to float it to the left, we could add a W class equals W3 dash left. That'll kind of float that guy up a little bit more. You could tinker with it a little bit more to see how you want to go with it. Other neat parts, like the nav section. Before we were kind of using a unordered list. But if you look into the navigation section that's here with W3 CSS, you'll see a lot of different examples that sort of exist here that you could kind of tinker around with and play with and maybe incorporate in. Some of the similar classes, they'll all kind of start with W3 dash something. And you might just want to kind of go down and take a basic example and try to copy and paste it into your page. This one looks pretty neat, responsive navigation. So be careful about copy and paste, but that's kind of what we're going to do here. That's the concept of a framework, is that it's going to give you an element that you want to exist on, and so it's going to help you speed up your time when you're trying to code. So what we can do is we can just kind of include that here, fix the formatting a little bit maybe, so we can read it a little bit better, and then edit these to our heart's content. So about services, products, and go down the list. Of course, you'll have to come back and change the href to point to which page you want it to go to as well. We could just go ahead and set this one to the index.htm to itself. So we don't really need this list anymore. I mean, we could add more, but should have the basic concept kind of worked out there now for the nav section. So we'll go back and we'll take a look, and here we go. Kind of got a horizontal menu there. And if we start scrolling the page down to kind of see how it would look like on a responsive, we'll kind of break into a one column, and this will break into a one column. So pretty neat there. Let's see, down here at the bottom where we have the three divs sort of in the footer section, trying to create a 3-column layout. We could do something similar. Class equals W3 container, W3 orange. Add class equals W3 third. Go ahead and just copy that and paste and paste. And then hopefully somewhere down here at the bottom after all these pictures, we'll have our 3-column layout there too. And it should be responsive as well. It'll hit that kind of breakpoint where it comes into a 1-column layout. Pretty neat. Lots of other things that you could do. One is a little bit further down, slideshow. So that's the reason why I have all the pictures, is so a lot of people like having slideshows somewhere in their website to kind of rotate through a bunch of pictures. So I picked up 12 of them, and they're kind of in my page up here at the top. Image tags. So there's some classes that do apply to images that you could use. Some of these, I won't touch on those, but on the slideshow, scroll down a little bit, try to aim for maybe the automatic one. Doesn't have a lot of controls on it. It might be the easiest to try. And on try it yourself, you'll kind of see that's how it works. Here's the image tag, similar to what I'm trying to use with my slides. And then here's a bit of JavaScript. So you should be able to just kind of copy that, come on down. You're going to want to put that right before the closing body tag and stick that code in there. And then you can do some indentation if you wanted to kind of help indent that if you wanted to, kind of help read it a little bit. We don't really need to know how it works, but what it is doing is that we're referencing the document. We're going to get the class names on the document that have the name My Slides. We're going to rotate through them. We're going to turn them all off. Then we're going to add one. And what we'll do is that should not actually be indented. We'll find the one that we counted to, and we'll turn that one on, and then we'll make this carousel jump every 2 seconds, 2,000 milliseconds, so 2 seconds. We'll need to add this class equals my slides. That'll need to go on our image tags, space, space, space. The irony of copy and pasting for space here. Oh, messed it up. Doot. Why did I choose 12? I should have just chose like 4. Let's see. There we go. So instead of these big giant pictures, hopefully we'll have one picture that kind of rotates in and out a little bit. You could add other classes to it from the W3 images. One of them, for example, that is on here that you've probably seen me use in a different video to create responsive images is to add W3-image to it. Well, if you add this to it, basically what you're doing is you're setting the max width to 100. So you could just do that in your style sheet and just say max image, max width 100%. And that'll kind of help bring those images down so that at least they fit sort of better into the page. You could always wrap them into a div and put those as W3- with the pics, because we have this W3- container. Not half. I think you can do a half here. Maybe that's not what I was going for. Ooh, but if you moved it up here with that float left, that might look really good. That's a little weird. Have to add a little more space on that side. Anyway, frameworks can do pretty well to help build out a website pretty quick without writing a whole lot of CSS, and sort of kind of get you going with what you want to accomplish in your website. Lots of ways that you could apply the language in different ways to sort of create something that you want to work with. W3- container, so it clears the float or row, so it doesn't include the padding. Oh, we need to change this one. What am I thinking? Purple. Gotta be careful overwriting styles. Or gray. I don't know. I'm getting so caught up in colors. If you're unsure what colors there are a bunch that are available to you. Not as many as if you wrote the hex codes yourself, but a lot of them that do sort of what I was doing there, to just sort of tinker around, and it works pretty well to just kind of choose a pattern based on those. Down here at the very bottom, or pretty close to the bottom, there's a color generator. So if you just happen to know that the school's colors are 633393, you could generate a purple colored theme and kind of try to implement that in your website somehow. Kind of an example there. But all you'll need to do is just kind of copy this generated CSS and paste that into your CSS file. It's going to kind of expose a lot of custom colors for you, like L5 through D5, so this would be the light version. These are the dark versions. And you could just kind of go through your website and decide that, I want to use the theme, I hit the insert key, WT theme -L5 or D5 for dark. And just a quotation mark there. boot. Maybe put that here to a L2, L3. Maybe we'll make this one kind of like the gray there. Well, you could do kind of lots of things. Change that to L4. Just choosing some random stuff here. Just give us a little bit, like maybe a deeper purplish theme for kind of our website. Anyway, hope you found it helpful, and there's a lot of things that you could do to keep messing around with your website, so I encourage you to come out here and play with W3 CSS. It's pretty easy to jump into and get started with. Once you kind of feel like you've figured that one out, the one that's going to get you jobs is called Bootstrap. That'll be kind of where you want to get started for real professional type work where you're going to use this in real life. And there'll be some example code in the documentation. Similarly, you'll need to add a link tag. Similar how we added the JavaScript down here at the bottom for the rotator. There's a bunch of precompiled JavaScript that comes with Bootstrap, so you'll need to include that at the bottom as well. It's actually a pretty nice copy pasta starting template to get started building it. Sort of what we're doing here, just the basic tags to get things going. Then you kind of create your semantic tags in the middle and build out your document. So this will be the next step. W3 Schools has 2 tutorials for that. There's actually 2 well-known tutorials. So 3 is kind of the older version of Bootstrap, but there's also a Bootstrap 4, which would be the newest version, and that's the one that's kind of out here right now as the latest. So probably want to stick to 4 when you're ready to jump into that one, but the concepts will be pretty similar. They just don't, a lot of them are not going to have the W3 tags on the front of them, but some of the similar techniques to build out like a 3-column layout like this is trying to do here. 3 columns because 4, 4, and 4, there's 3, and they all add to 12. So that would make us our 3-column layout. Anyway, encourage you to pursue frameworks and see what you can create. A lot of neat stuff that you can do. Don't know why that got all weird. Refresh. Probably need to add a W3 container. And there's always more things that you can do, right? W3 container around that would help, or W3 row, one or the other would probably help keep that from occurring, going too much bigger than the page. Still need to figure out those bullet points over there, though. Anyway, happy tinkering. Have a good one. Bye.